Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in the month of August. So August was not my best reading month. I'm actually surprised by the amount I did manage to get read because I don't quite know how that happened, because by the end of the month I was literally on like 2 books and suddenly I did manage to get to 6 books in the end. I've had quite a bit going on with work, which has really much taken a lot of my brain space up, so that I haven't, even if I have had time to read, I haven't really had that much time to read, but even if I had, my brain couldn't focus. Like, my concentration on reading was not there, that I couldn't maintain my focus on the words and the pages because I would just keep thinking about other things, and it wasn't, I couldn't get immersed into stories. And then I was working overseas for a week, and then I did actually manage to get quite a bit of reading done in the final week of the month, when suddenly my brain was like, okay, we can do a bit more reading now. So the bulk of what I read was that final week, but we will dive right in. So I did say, as I said, I have read 6 books, which comes to a total of 2,510 pages. I read a variety of genres, so 2 fantasy, 2 sci-fi and 2 romance, so very spread out. All 6 of the books were adult books, and then the bulk of what I read was 4 stars, so there were 4 4-stars, 1 3-star and 1 2-star. One of the books that I read was the finale, 3 were new series, 1 was a standalone and 1 was a series reread, which on the go I think I'm at 30, but I've sort of lost track a little bit, but I think I've got about 30 odd series on the go. I've been starting quite a few and not really finishing anything, because when I did actually start picking up books, I was just like, I just need things that I'm really drawn to, that I'm really going to find very, very fun. So I think I will just dive straight into the wrap up. I have a couple of books that I've already talked about in other videos. So the first of these being Lachlan's by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the 3rd and final book in the Founders trilogy, and I do have a review and a should you read on the whole Founders trilogy and my thoughts on the trilogy as a whole. So my thoughts on Lachlan's, it being the final book. I'm very thankful to my friend Sophia for doing some recaps for the first 2 books, because I didn't reread them and I went straight into this, and her recaps were, I think, essential, because if I had just gone into this I would have been so lost, because there's quite a big time jump between the 2nd book and this 3rd book, and for me I had quite a disconnect, I would say, from that, in terms of that time jump, that I couldn't quite believe where things had got to in that time, that it didn't in some ways seem realistic. Like, the 2nd book ended on quite an explosive ending, and then suddenly we were so many years in the future and this is where our characters are now, and I was like, but I sort of wanted to have seen what's gone on here, as though there's a whole episode that's missing, there's a whole sort of book that's missing in terms of the years that we skipped, and I would have liked to have seen those years, I think, because the way that it was, I was like, how has technology moved on that quickly? How have things progressed like that quickly? How have our characters sort of got from here to here? So I think I struggled a little bit with that in terms of getting myself resituated into this world, and I don't know if that is because of there being the difference between me reading Shorefall and me reading this, or if it was actually the time difference within the book. And so I found it hard, I guess, to reconnect to the world and to these characters. And as well that we've gone from quite an insular setting in the first 2 books of being in a city to now suddenly getting a much wider world, that we're suddenly having this new information come at us as we get introduced to a much wider world in this 3rd and final book. To me, it felt as though Robert Jackson Bennett had his ending. He knew where he was going to get to. He knew where he wanted this whole series to end, and I liked the ending. But I felt as though a lot of this, not filler, but like this build up to that ending, the majority of this book didn't quite fit with the tone of the rest of the series. It didn't quite work for me. That however much I liked the ending, the journey to get to that destination didn't quite work. So unfortunately, this one was not a favourite for me. And there are still elements that I like. I mean, I like our characters, I like our world, I like the way that it's written. It's really fast paced, it's really engaging, you are compelled to keep going, and I am definitely engaged in the story and engaged in the magic system. I just felt as though this one fell a little bit flat. So I gave this one 3 stars overall, which is disappointing for me because I'd given the first 2 books 5 stars. That I really hoped that this one was going to be 5 stars. And I knew that I read all of his Divine Cities trilogy, and in that one he really stuck the landing. Like, I really liked the 3rd and final book in that trilogy, so I'd hoped that he would have matched that same energy and have delivered an ending that I could have really enjoyed, but unfortunately not. So this, yeah, a bit of a disappointing start to the month. I think that was the thing as well, that it took a while for me to actually get some good ratings, that I was starting the month with quite a few books that I was like, oh, I'm not really loving this, and it just kept going. I wasn't loving things, and then all of my ones that I really liked came at the end as well, so that didn't keep my motivation going to keep reading, because I was having like 3 stars and 2 stars at the beginning of the month. So I then have done a sci-fi vlog. I don't know if I can really call it a vlog because it's mostly just check-ins, reading check-ins, that there is no real like vlog or b-roll footage. I literally just talk to the camera at 4 different times, and is it a review or is that a vlog? But anyway, I read some sci-fi this month. I read both of these, Hyperion by Dan Simmons and A Memory Called Empire by Arcadia Martin, so I will link that blog if you're interested in hearing more of my full thoughts on both of these, as I was attempting to read some sci-fi duologies. I did end up just reading the first books in those duologies. For Hyperion, it's because I didn't really love it. In this, you are following sort of a short story narrative as these people go on the quest to seek the Shrike, who is this part god, part killing machine with powers that transcend the limits of time and space. And these pilgrims are going there to seek the Shrike out, and on their way they are each telling their individual stories and their individual connection to this Shrike. I don't think I really connected to any of the stories. I think that's the issue, that I didn't connect to them particularly. Additionally, I do talk about in the vlog how there is some language that I don't think has aged very well at all, or terms towards people that has not aged well at all. I went in expecting some of it, like I thought it might not be the best representation towards women. Like some people had mentioned that there was one story which was just a bit sort of seeing females quite object-like, but I was very shocked by one of the phrases in terms of Down syndrome. I will put up like the paragraph, I will say, but he basically did that. It's page 50, so quite early on. One of our characters encounters some other people, and he describes them as having Down syndrome, and the terms that he uses for them are bald, sexless, placid idiocy, a smiling band of bald, retarded children. Goes on, and I'm like, how dare you? Like, how is that still published? How? That you can refer to people as having Down syndrome and these are the terms that you think of them as. It did not sit well with me at all. I literally stopped reading when I got to that and was like, I don't know if I can keep reading this. But I kept going because I was like, I'll just see how it all pans out. And then, yeah. I mean, that was definitely the worst, I would say, of things that haven't aged so well, but there is definitely other stuff in this that didn't age so well. So Hyperion, not continuing. And then A Memory Called Empire, I really thoroughly enjoyed and would definitely recommend this one. In this one, you're following a main character, Mahit, who is sent to this colony as the ambassador for her planet, and the previous ambassador has been killed, and she is there to investigate what has happened to him and to try and maintain relations between her planet and this one. And I thoroughly enjoyed this one, would definitely recommend it, and I'm definitely excited to continue on with this duology. Didn't have so much to say on that one. I sped through my thoughts on A Memory Called Empire. If you want more full thoughts on it, then it is going to be in that blog. I read Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I was just like, I need something fun, breezy, that doesn't require like concentration, that doesn't require brain power, and this really delivered. This delivered on what I needed. I needed something like this, and you did your job. You did your job well. In this, it is a sort of Regency romance, but with fairy tale elements. We're following a main character, Theodora, and at the beginning of the book, she encounters a fairy who ends up taking half of her soul, and so that sort of drains her of her personality or her fears and inhibitions and her emotions in some way. And she then goes about living the rest of her life with half a soul and with her emotions sort of without any strong emotions. We are following her, and at the beginning of the book, her and her cousin are going to London to the start of the season, where they encounter various romantic interests, one of them being the Lord Sorcier, who is a magician for England. I really liked the romance. I really liked their banter. I think they're both sort of like, not grumpy sunshine, it's like grumpy romance, and I really liked their dynamic. I liked having this sort of Regency romance combined with fairy tale elements and having that sprinkled throughout. That there was fairies, there was magic, but it was also Regency period England, and I just found it really fun. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this if you're after just a fun time. If you're after something fun and light, it's quick to read. It's like 200 and something pages, so very quick to read. And I was just like swooning. I swooned a little bit. I swooned for these characters. So I would definitely recommend it, and I am looking forward to continuing in this series. It is a standalone in that this is all wrapped up, but she does have some other books set in this world, which I'm excited to read. I also reread The Alloy of Law, the first book in Mistborn Era 2 by Brandon Sanderson. I listened to this on audiobook and Buddy read this with my friend Joanna at Joanna Souza, and I really liked this reread. I liked this more than I thought I was going to. I guess I'm trying to think like what my expectations were for it going in. Like, I did read this back in 2016, and I think at the time I was a little disappointed in it because I had come off of reading Mistborn Era 1, and I sort of hoped for more of that maybe, and that this doesn't really deliver that it's a very different tone to Mistborn Era 1, that it's more comical, you've got a Western style setting, it's not so epic in scope. But I actually really enjoyed this on reread. Like, I liked our two main characters, Wax and Wayne, and I liked their dynamic, and I liked seeing them explore the cases that they go through and the characters that are introduced, and just the overall, I mean, I like the magic system, I like the world. I find it really interesting to see how a world changes over time. So like, we've read Era 1, which happened a few hundred years ago or prior to the start of this series, and seeing how the people in this look back on that, and how that is their religion, and how that is their past, and how those events have shaped their society today. Like, I really enjoy that as a theme, as something within a story that you can explore, that we know as a reader how Era 1 finishes and what happens in Era 1, the events of Era 1. But these people don't, because they didn't live through it. They know their lives in this time. So I do thoroughly enjoy that as a tool. And also seeing how technology and magic interweave and come together now, with the introduction of like guns and power. And so I did definitely enjoy this more than I thought I was going to, and I'm excited to keep going in this series now. And hopefully I'll finish Shadows of Self, because that's one of those books that I never finished, that I got so far through and then just never finished it. So now I can be like, I finished it. Well, hopefully after this month I can say that. I can't say it right now, but hopefully soon. And then the final book that I read in the month of August was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. This is her latest release, and I loved The Love Hypothesis last year. Like, I absolutely loved it. So I was really excited to read her next book, and I definitely like this. I mean, I read it in a day, which from someone that hadn't really read all month to then reading a book in a day was quite an achievement, I think. So this is what I mean, that like literally everything I read was right at the end. That there wasn't really much prior to the end of the week, end of the month. So this one, you are following Bea and Levi. They're both working on a project at NASA, and they knew each other prior to this at school, and they didn't get along, and now they're trying to work out their differences and get this project for NASA off of the ground. I didn't mean for that to be a pun. I didn't mean for it, okay. I didn't mean for it, but as soon as I said it, I was like, that's quite a good one, Abby. And I've sort of made myself, or like, I'm trying to stop myself from laughing. Okay, well, we'll move along from that. Moving right along. I did like their dynamic and seeing their relationship grow and seeing what was happening. I do think that this one is definitely weaker than The Love Hypothesis. There is just something quite special, I'd say, with The Love Hypothesis, that I connected maybe to those characters more. And also, a lot of these characteristics seem very, very similar to those characters that I've already read. The Love Hypothesis, I've read her short stories, and a lot of her characters have very similar behaviours, characteristics, personalities. In some ways, it felt as though she had taken those characters from her other book and put them into these scenarios, as opposed to creating new characters. I do just want maybe a little bit more diversity in terms of like the character representation. Like literally, you look at the Love Hypothesis, her short stories, and literally all of them are tiny girl, giant muscly man. And I know that's not unique to Ali Hazelwood, like that is quite common across the romance genre. But I was like, across all of them, you've all had tiny female, large muscly man. Like, can we change it up maybe and have like maybe someone that's taller or not so muscly or not so just small, tiny, itty bitty female? Like, we're not all like that. We're not all that one size. So maybe could we mix it up a little bit? I don't know. Like, I think by the time I'd got to this, having read The Love Hypothesis and those 3 short stories, I was hoping for a bit of a change from the characters, like seeing something different from them. I still gave this 4 stars. Like, I still thoroughly enjoyed the writing style. I did really like our character dynamics. Like, there isn't anything inherently wrong with this, I don't think. And I think if I had read this first, then I probably would have enjoyed... Ooh, dramatic. Then I think I probably would have enjoyed this more. It's just that having read her other books, I could see a lot of the similarities between her other books and this book. And I do think the ending was quite bad action movie-esque. Leave it at that. But I think it was a bit just over the top, like that child screaming, over the top. So there we go. Ooh. Throwing the book on the floor now. Right, so those are the 6 books that I read in the month of August. So not my best reading month, but not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was actually going to be wrapping up 3 books. So suddenly to have got to 6, I feel like that's quite an achievement. How was your reading month in August? Have you read any of these? Do you have any opinions on these? Have I persuaded you to read any of them? And hopefully we all have a great reading month in the month of September. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!